Good evening. It is Tuesday, June 14th, and this is the regular council meeting of East St. Paul. It's 5 p.m. and I'm going to call it to order. We do have an agenda that has been provided to council. Are there any changes to this agenda? Any amendments? Hearing none, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Harachko and Postumus. All in favor? Carried. Next is the adoption of the minutes of the May 24th, 2022 regular planning meeting. Any edits on those minutes? Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Duval and Devlin, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, we go to bylaws. We have a zoning bylaw in front of council. This was tabled from, forget the date, Mr.
May 4th.
May 4th?
24th.
May 24th, tabled, and we're having it in front of us today. Maybe I will turn the floor over to Mr. Eno for just a very quick recap before council proceeds.
Of course, Mayor. This is, oh, maybe I should use this. So if you can hear me. Is that on? There we go. So this was zoning bylaw amendment number 2022-02. It's for the properties located at 2461, 2463, and 2481 Henderson Highway. And there were two parts to this zoning bylaw amendment. As you recall, the first part is to introduce a new zone into the zoning bylaw. This would be the LMU low-rise mixed-use zone, and then to rezone the property to this LMU low-rise mixed zone to facilitate future development on this property, which would consist of a maximum of 25 dwelling units per acre, as well as with a mixed-use component, commercial on ground level floor, that sort of thing. There were some objections, obviously, from the public that came out. Our office did our analysis. Our main concern was that the designation for this area would allow for such a use. However, there's a key policy within the development plan that notes that development in this area should be connected to municipal water and sewer. And as you recall, the applicant did not have any proposal as to how to provide water and sewer here, nor does the municipality have capacity or have any plans in the works to provide water and sewer in this area. And based on that, our recommendation to council was that this isn't appropriate at this time. There were a number of comments from the provincial agencies. However, those missing were from Manitoba Highways. They did not give any substantial comments, especially related to the applicant's traffic study. The province just hadn't done their analysis yet, and we still don't have anything from them. So that's it in a nutshell. If council has any questions they need, on items that need reminding of, I'd be happy to try and answer those.
Great. Any questions for the planner? If not, we'll read the resolution, get it on the table, and have council discussion and take a vote on this application.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-02 being a bylaw of the rural municipality of East St. Paul to amend zoning bylaw 2022-02, 2461, 2463, and 2481 Henderson Highway be given second reading with the condition that a development agreement to address items such as but not limited to land drainage and required drainage easements, land use buffering between differing land uses in order to ensure compatibility, and any site development or construction of infrastructure requirements.
Thank you. And Jen, I apologize. The front of that resolution, because as Mr. Eno pointed out, there are two issues on the table. Was that, I missed the front end of that. If this one resolution includes both.
Let's double check.
The rezoning, the creation of the new zone, as well as the rezoning of that property. Does?
It does.
I just kind
All
of
encompassing.
missed the front end of that. Could you just say the front end?
Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-02 being a bylaw of the rural municipality of East St. Paul to amend zoning bylaw 2022-02, 2461, 2463, and 2481 Henderson Highway be given second reading with a condition that a development agreement to address items such as but not limited to.
Okay, I'm still not hearing the duplicate, like, because it's to create a new zone as well as to rezone the property.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. The bylaw number 2022-02 itself encompasses both of those items. So the legal bylaw itself. So you don't actually have to itemize them in your resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's clarity. Great. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Horechko, seconded by Hart. Open up the floor for discussion. Councillor DeVal.
Yes, if this motion is defeated, we will have to come up with reasons as per Bill 37. The last time we turned down a proposal, you recall, we actually had another resolution to draft up and issue a set of reasons why we did so.
That's correct, but we haven't debated this resolution yet. So
I'm just saying
if that occurs,
if
that would be necessary. Yeah. Great. Any comments on this one? Yeah. Councillor Costumes.
I'll start debating. I'm not sure if this is all. I do not see this as a fit to the character of East St. Paul. The density is far too high. We've heard from all the residents, many concerns, including traffic. What else? We've heard from Red River Planning. We know the infrastructure isn't there, and we don't know if it ever would be there. And also the plants we have a moratorium on our plant. We know there's no room there also. So the traffic, the density, and it's just not the character of East St. Paul. And I'm voting opposed to it.
Thank you. So Rachel.
I have to agree with Councillor Costumas. At this present time, I can't see this working because there is no piped water there. Wastewater treatment plant, 3-4 years away. Possibly this zone might work in 4 or 5 years from now, but not at this time.
Thank you. Comments? Councillor DeVal.
Yeah, on the traffic issue, it's a very difficult location. It's tucked right in the corner of the intersection of 2 major highways with a lot of traffic coming and going. As I explained at the public hearing or our discussion, that the traffic study that was done, there were some assumptions made in that study, which I don't agree with. I think the mayor even mentioned one of them. So there's some flaws in that traffic study that I just can't get around. Also, this may be slightly beside the point, but I'd like some clarification from Mr. Eno, if I could. This creation of a new zone, which allows for 4 stories, that's the way the specs are written out. And the development proposal has one building at 3 stories. What is to stop? I asked this question before and I'll repeat the answer. What is to stop the developer from just going ahead and building 4 stories instead of 3 as per the bylaw? And the answer I understood correctly was, well, the municipality can write into the development agreement restrictions such as that. Is that an accurate answer?
That's correct. You can write that into a development agreement for the specific property. If you didn't do that, then so long as they abided by the zone, our office would be obligated to issue permits.
Right. Now, as we know, Bill 37 allows for appeals on development agreements as well. So an applicant can, down the road, appeal that development agreement. And I don't think we'd have a strong case if we say they can only build 3. We approved the zone of 4 stories, and now we're saying it can have only 3. Well, that's kind of contradictory. I don't think we have a very good chance of that appeal. That's just the thought. I'm not asking for any questions, advice, or anything, but down the road that could happen.
Councillor Devon.
I won't be supporting the application tonight. I do think that the land in the future needs to be developed and it has good potential. I think that low-lying commercial development would work there. Something as Michi's development down the road, or even a two-story commercial space like it has on adjacent property to the north. So there is potential for the property, but at this time, the application does not work for East St. Paul. And the proposed development, although the land checks off reasons why you would do multifamily and why you would do commercial there, it doesn't fit within the characteristic of the land and the surrounding areas. It has nothing similar around it for quite some time, right? So we don't see anything that would be commercial on the bottom and residential on the top. And so when you're driving into East St. Paul, it would act as if a wall there on one side and nothing would complement it on the other side. So for those reasons, and for the reasons that RRPD presents in their presentation, it's the reason I won't be supporting the application tonight.
Thank you. I'll share my thoughts as well in not supporting the application, and for the following reasons. The proposed new zone is not consistent with the RM zoning bylaw, and the proposed intensity of use is just too great for the location. I believe the proposed use would generate too much traffic at that location, and Manitoba Infrastructure did not provide a complete response to the proposal, indicating in their comments that the traffic impact assessment is undergoing review and may be subject to comments and or revision. Should be noted that Manitoba Infrastructure received the traffic impact assessment on December 17th, 2021. And I think this is the one you were referring to, Councillor Duval. In the one area of the traffic impact study, analysis determined that the traffic volume on Henderson Highway north of PTH 101 increased at an average rate of 2.65% per year from 2011 to 2017. The report comments that this growth rate is quite high compared to the 1% year growth typically experienced in the Winnipeg Met area. It also states that this is based on very limited data, and historical AADT volume is only available for 3 count years. To address this, the study then decided to investigate the annual growth rate at a nearby count station on PTH 59 south of Highway 44. Using data from 2011 to 2019. They used the growth rate here of 1.48% per year, commented that that was much closer to the 1% growth rate in the WMR, and then assumed a growth rate of 1.5. These are 2 very different roadways, Highway 59 and Henderson Highway, and serve very different motorists. Highway 59 is a major highway serving many points north, while Henderson Highway serves the South St. Clements and St. Paul area. I'm not convinced their assumptions were valid. This area, Henderson Highway and Sparing, has been the subject of discussions with the province as they intend to upgrade the perimeter infrastructure at this location, but a timeline has not yet been confirmed. This is one of the 2 locations where traffic would exit the site. Until the province confirms their intentions, any intensification of the site would be premature. I remain concerned about the traffic in and out of the site in relation to Henderson Highway. This concern was identified by several residents who live nearby and are very familiar with the traffic flows on Henderson at this location. The traffic impact study also identified the issue of trips originating from the south may enter and exit would use the Henderson Highway to enter and exit, and then U-turn at the end of Henderson where the median ends just by Wallace Avenue. And of course, this is further complicated because Wallace to the north of the site will be impacted by those U-turning. And Wallace Avenue residents already have challenges exiting Wallace to go southbound on Henderson Highway. And this was also noted in the traffic impact study. It was difficult to get clarity on the traffic impact study questions council had, as the applicant did not have representatives of AECOM at the hearings. There was very strong opposition from the residents due to valid concerns, including traffic, character of the community, privacy of adjacent yards, previous development on Sparing turned down by the province due to traffic concerns, lack of wastewater servicing. The RM does not have the required wastewater infrastructure to support the development, nor does it have pipe water as per RRPD's comment in their summary. So these are my comments relative to this application. Okay. Hearing nothing else, we have the resolution on the table. We've had our comments. I'll now call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is defeated. With the defeated motion, we'll now have to create a second resolution to articulate those reasons. So maybe if I could suggest a 10-minute recess to allow our RPD and our CEO to articulate the reasons they've heard from council.
Thank you.
All right, we're back from recess, and I would ask the CEO please to read the resolution that's being prepared.
Whereas the applicant has made application for a zoning bylaw amendment to include a new zone in the zoning bylaw LMU and to rezone the subject lands from R117 single housing dwelling to single housing dwelling zone to LMU low-rise mixed-use zone. And whereas council has considered the application, the information received as part of the application process, and the municipality zoning bylaw requirements. Therefore, be it resolved that the application is rejected. The application does not meet the requirements of the Planning Act and is rejected for the following reasons. There were strong public objections presented at the public hearing. The RM does not have the required infrastructure to support the development, and applicant has not provided a solution. The proposal is not compatible with the character of surrounding area or of the community. Lack of information and comments from Manitoba Transportation and Infrastructure Highway Design Branch. Proposal is not consistent with the development plan and zoning bylaw, and proposed development will generate traffic and applicants. An applicant's transportation study appears to be missing information.
Okay, council, does that meet everybody's objections?
So-
All right. Please, Dumas and Horechko. Any further discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? That's carried. We're also going to take another short recess. Councillor Dumas has to leave us for the rest of the meeting, and our CEO has a bit of a procedural issue just to consider for us this evening. Thank you. All right, we're back from recess and we'll continue our meeting. Next item is under finances. It's schedule of accounts. And I could ask Jen, please, to read that resolution.
Be it resolved that the schedule of accounts dated June 14th, 2022, amounting to $625 be confirmed as paid.
Thank you. I'll move it. Can I get a seconder? Horechko, any discussion? Councillor Devlin?
To say thank you for your email.
You're welcome.
For me. So in your email, you said that anything prior to the budget, are you saying from January forward? Or is it just from the budget?
From which one, sorry, which?
For the library refunds?
From anything, if council wishes, we can go from either back data from January 1st, those 25, or else we could start as of when the budget was passed. Because there's only 25 applicants who had put through, we had just instructed staff to go back and make sure that we correct the payments for anybody prior to the budget being passed. So it'd be a $15 difference to each of the 25 applicants. That was taken into account for when we budgeted.
Okay.
So
I would support going back to January. I don't know how council feels about that.
Budget wasn't passed, I think, till May, so that to me would be when that would, I know, but it's an annual budget, so you can kind of go either way. It's a small nominal fee. I don't really care one way or the other.
That's 25 people.
yeah, it's 25 people at $15, so it's not a substantial amount. So if council's okay with that, then we don't need a resolution or anything like that, but we'll move forward and we'll go back to those that had put their library fees in for the January up until when the budget was passed, and we'll include them in the $15 top up. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, we have the motion on the floor, moved and seconded. All in favor? That's carried. Next is schedule of accounts paid since May 10th. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the schedule of accounts paid since the May 10th, 2022 meeting of council amounting to $1,122,808.87 be confirmed as paid.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move it.
Moved by Duval, seconded by Devlin. Any comments? Yep, go ahead, Brad.
Yes, looking at the list of accounts there and the cost for legal advice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on there. That covers the time period of March and April. So I can deduce from the information there. That totals $41,485. In the report that received the May 10th meeting, just last month, there was one entry in there from Trombley, McCandless Trombley for $24,548, which was for January and February billing. And in that same, or in one previous to that meeting, there was one I recall, I didn't write it down, I think it was $4,000 or $5,000. So if you add up 41, 24, and 5, you're approaching, or you're going to be over $70,000 of legal fees so far this, not this year to date now, but for the first 4 months of this calendar year. We struck a legal cost budget of $90,000 at budget time. Now we're over $70,000 already, and the year is 1/3 gone. 4 months are gone. There's probably some bills coming from May and June, and who knows what's going to happen for the rest of the year. I guess I wonder, is this come as a surprise to anybody?
If I may correct your total, I had our finance manager pull the total for the year for legal. And as of today, we're at $59,528.
Yes, I understand. I got that information. And I thank you for that. But I'm pulling numbers right off of these accounts. So, you know, one line at a time. And that's what they total. So I can't explain the difference.
For sure.
Okay. Nonetheless, a great big chunk of the budget is already gone. And I wonder if anybody notices this. I wonder if anybody's tracking this and alerting administration that this is going on. I suspect not.
No, administration is well aware of the budget decrease to legal this year. We are working to ensure that we don't go over. Obviously, we don't want to go over on any accounts at any time. There were some bills that came in late or early in this year that were for last year that we'll be reading on this year's line right now. I can check with our finance manager to see if those have been removed out or if they're still sitting in a 2022 capacity. I'd have to double check that.
Even if 59 is the accurate number, and I certainly don't doubt it, you know, whatever these numbers here say, that's a big chunk of 90. And do we have one of the, and I've been hounding on this ever since I got into this gig here, even with the Red River Planning Finance Committee here. The reporting system that is used, I know what's common is legislated probably from the province, and you're supposed to use this method, but we never know as the year goes on how we are tracking according to budget. Because all we get is a report saying we spent this much and the budget is this much. The budget meaning the whole year. So as you go along through the year, you're always comparing a progressive budget to a lump sum for the total year. And you can't really be sure where you are because a lot of things are seasonal. A lot of costs are seasonal. A lot of big items are lump sums expected. But I just get the uneasy feeling that we are not, because of that and because of other reasons, perhaps, we are not really following our spending. It's just an opinion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other comments? Councillor Devlin?
Thank you for responding to the questions that I had this morning. I haven't had a chance to review them.
No, and I do apologize for getting them out late. It's how the day went. So
Yeah,
I do
so
apologize.
that's okay. I'll respond in email to you.
Okay.
If I have any questions,
Sure.
but I appreciate the information being forwarded.
Okay.
And I do have the same concern as was in my questions about legal costs, so I can support Brian with those concerns. I think that we need to be, you know, maybe a little bit more diligent about our budget to ensure that we are meeting the budget for legal, because it seems like right now we're pretty top heavy at the beginning of the year.
Great. No more comments. We have the resolution on the floor.
Do.
Moved and seconded. I'll call for the question. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, next item is payroll. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the net payroll and council indemnities for the arm of East St. Paul for May 13th, 2022 to June 14th, 2022, amounting to $297,717.95 be approved.
Thank you. I'll move it. Second, please. Electrical. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. And the next item is under administration. Take action on Radon. Jen, did you have a resolution for this?
We do, yes.
Okay, maybe we'll read it and get it on the floor first, please.
Sure. Be it resolved that council authorizes the administration department to join the Take Action on Radon 100 Radon Test Kits Challenge.
Thank you. Mover, please. Electrical, seconded by Devlin. I'll open the floor discussion. I'll start discussion on this one. I like the idea of the plan, but I think from the comments from staff where it's going to be significantly impact staff having to have that liaison person, I think it's just too much extra for the aggressive budget season we have ahead. So I would not support it only on that reason. That was my first comment, and maybe Jen, you could speak to that.
Yeah, it is somewhat substantial, or it is not somewhat, it is substantial. We have to dedicate one staff member to essentially be the spokesperson of it. So if anyone were to call or ask or have questions, the dedicated spokesperson of the municipality would have to be able to answer the questions. Whether or not we know the answers at that time would require us to have to go and find the answers to get the answers to the residents that are calling. There would have to be a system in place for ensuring that the radon kits are delivered to those, are picked up by those that want them. We'd have to do a public outcry, if you would, for at least our minimum of 100 residents to take part. And then at the end of the 96 days, we have to ensure that all the kits are returned back and that they're sent back in an orderly fashion. So while it doesn't seem like it's substantial, it is going to take a good deal of time for our staff to be able to do that. So.
And I think it was your recommendation that that's just not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have the staffing to do it myself. If it's something council wants to do, we would work to find a way to do it. But the recommendation from my seat is to not proceed with this.
Yeah, right now.
Right now, at this time, I think it's a great endeavor. I think it's
timing's just bad.
I think the timing for the municipality for the staffing wise for what we have right now is a little tough. So.
Any other comments?
When we discussed it at GPC, I thought you were a little bit more supportive of the program, so that's why we brought it forward to council tonight.
No, I wouldn't say I was supportive of it. I didn't, and I apologize if that's how I came across on it. Certainly wasn't my intention. It is going to take a substantial amount of time for our staff, and at this point, it would be our assistant CAO who would be doing it. And between the mass amounts of FIPA requests we've been receiving lately, and some of the bylaws that need to be updated, we're a little bit lacking on time. But again, if this was something council wanted to do, we would find a way to make it happen. But it is going to be a little bit tricky for our staff to take this on.
Okay, because I did support this initiative because radon gas is a silent killer, and not a lot of people know about it, and not a lot of people know how to test for it or to have to have the kits that are available to let them know the levels in their homes, because the majority of homes do have radon, some level, right? We all live within some level, and they are one of the leading causes of lung cancer. So I thought it was a good initiative.
I'm certainly,
Don't get me wrong.
I'm not against, certainly not against it.
I understand you're not against it. I just thought that when we had at GPC, I thought that it was a little bit more supportive. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have brought it forward.
And I was not at
I
GPC.
understand.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the conversation. I'm just kind of going by the report. Counselor Hutchfield.
Instead of having Suzanne look after it, couldn't we talk to the fire department and get them on board to do the paperwork side of it? I mean, that kind of falls to me more. with-
That's a great idea.
Certainly reach out to them and see if they could take it on, definitely.
Maybe table it for today.
Yeah, if actually that's not a bad idea if council's, I mean, passing it today or in 3 weeks' time doesn't make a difference. So if council is okay with that, we could certainly do that.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I think the owner's task is right off the start. We have to find 100 residents to volunteer with it.
That's easy.
100 is a big number. 20, 25, sure, but 100. And it needs a lot of record keeping for that. And,
For around this.
communication. Maybe we could have and I don't know anything about these kits, but maybe we could have them here, and for people who want to take them and test their home, their basement, we can give it to them, and then it's a 90-day trial period, and then we would just forward them on, instead of 100, just as many people who wish to do it on their own voluntarily method here.
I think if we put it in the newsletter, the first 100 people that are ever going to contact so would fill in ASAP.
I think so. The kits are usually about $60 and up.
Huh.
You put them in the lowest portion, like the lowest part of your house, and then you leave them there for 3 months and you send them in for a test, and they send you back a report. So, I mean,
Yeah.
they're ideal to use.
Especially some of the seniors.
All right, so let's table it and bring it back with that fire department information. All right, under operations, we have, the first thing is the transfer station perimeter fencing as well as an operations yard gate. Anybody have any, let's put this on solution first, please.
Be resolved that the transfer station fencing and operations yard gate contract be awarded to Best Way Fencing for a total cost of $153,633.50 plus applicable taxes. And be it further resolved that council allow for an additional budget expenditure of $28,633.50 to allow for the completion of the project.
All right, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Hrechko? Devlin, discussion? Brian?
Yeah, at the GPC meeting, the question came up, perimeter fencing, perhaps we should look at the operations site and building, where there's a lot more valuable things to be stolen, tampered with, etc. And I believe our operations manager said he would bring an estimate to what it would cost to encircle the operations yard. I don't know, Dave, if you have any information on that?
Yes, to complete the,
That mic's working, Dave.
okay, that's fine.
This one has a green light on it. Maybe it'll work.
I'll speak up.
Okay.
So to complete the perimeter on the operations yard, it would be approximately the estimate is another $82,000. That appears as option 2 in the options of the report. The report's been revised, and it indicates that for another $82,000, we could complete the perimeter around operations. There was also a figure attached showing where the perimeter fencing on the operations yard would be located if council was so inclined to complete that. It's certainly worthwhile work. It's work that we plan to do in the intermediate term, but the priorities at this time were the gate and the transfer station. And the reasoning for the transportation station in the priority is to be in compliance with the provincial operating permit. So,
Oh,
yes.
so there's a requirement to do this.
Yes, so there's a requirement to do it under the provincial operating permit, and that's why the transfer station is priority.
Okay.
But certainly if there's interest in expanding the project to include the operations yard, that could be done for another $82,000.
So the resolution you read was option one,
Correct.
the one we budgeted for.
Budgeted for.
This would be, if council wants to do it, it's a second resolution.
Do second resolution.
The budget. Where would the 82 come from?
I would come from the same reserve that this is coming from, the municipal buildings reserve.
To do them both.
Yeah, when we discussed it at GPC, I think everybody would. Just because if you just do the actual front, people can still walk around or get there. So we thought that it would be a good priority to fence it all off.
And that 82,000, was that an estimate from one or both of the bidders?
That's based on the cost of linear fencing on the low bid.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have option one is council's will to go for option two then? Okay, so who moved and seconded?
Orist and Carla.
Right, so the mover willing to amend the resolution?
We'll change it then.
Did Jen?
1 second to rewrite it.
And the seconder wants to change it? Thank you.
Okay, just a couple minutes here to make a change to it. Dave, is that 82,000 plus taxes?
Yes.
So we have it worded as be it resolved that the transfer station fencing and operations yard gate contract be awarded to Best Way Fencing for a total cost of $153,633.50 plus applicable taxes. And be it further resolved that council allow for an additional budget expenditure of $28,633.50 to allow for the completion of the project. And be it further resolved that an additional budget of $82,000 plus applicable taxes be added to the overall budget to include the perimeter fencing of the operations yard.
Thank you. Mover and seconder good with that?
Yep.
Any further discussion? Call for the question, all in favor? And that's carried. Great, the next item is the large tractor with boom mower replacement. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council approve the purchase of one 2022 JCB Hydra Dig wheeled excavator for a total cost of $279,900 plus applicable taxes. And be it further resolved that council authorize Public Works to advertise the New Holland boom mower for sale privately online with an asking price of $65,000.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder? Duval. And Brechko. Discussion? Councillor Devlin?
While we were at FCM, Brian and I discovered Canoe, the program, and we were quite excited to come back to share it with staff. And then we came to GPC, our first meeting, and they had Canoe on the agenda. So it was good timing, but we were happy with the program. We met with one of the reps and we thought it was something that we should definitely look into. So we were happy to see it on the agenda.
Any other questions, comments? All right, well, we have the resolution moved and seconded. Call for the question. All in favor? And that's carried. And Egan's been touting it for quite some time over the last, I'd say, at least the last year. They've been advertising it quite a lot. Next item is Eagle Creek Mowat Bridge Replacement. The resolution, please, Jen.
Be it resolved that council approved to award tender 06-2022 for the 2022 Eagle Creek Pedestrian Bridge Replacement Project to Armcon Limited at a cost of $104,761.54 plus applicable taxes. And be it further resolved that council approves a project budget increase to a total of $120,000 to cover project construction and contingency.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Devlin and Horechko. Any discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Next is the 2022 Road and Sidewalk Reconstruction Program. Can I get that resolution put on the floor, please?
Be it resolved that council approved to award the bid opportunity 08-2022 to Vitamix Paving Limited to enable the completion of the 2022 Road and Sidewalk Reconstruction Program by the specified date of October 14th, 2022 at a cost of $1,503,000 plus applicable taxes.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Horechko, seconded by Devlin. Discussion?
There was just one addition that I wanted to put back on the road work when we discussed it at budget time. To see all our road work, as much of it done as we could. So somehow this kind of, fell by the wayside. So I'd like to bring a resolution forward to bring it forward. Dave can be in a bit as far as the estimations. You were saying it would be about $300,000 at the high, and possibly $150,000 to $200,000 to a form of asphalting to Chrysler.
Yeah, to pave Chrysler with an asphalt cover. Right now, we sort of talked about some of the different road works that we might consider for the 2022 program. At the time, Chrysler was left off the list. And so we had a preliminary estimate to do Chrysler of $314,000, but that's presuming the worst of all case scenarios. Realistically, it was a conservative estimate, and it's the only estimate I have at this time. It's based on no engineering or site review or pre-work that's been done. So we could certainly do that. We could certainly do that in time to complete that work in the summer of 2022, and we could add it to the program. The issue we're faced with is we don't know exactly how much work needs to be done. We don't know if the road base is in good shape and needs to be reconstructed, or whether the road base is fine. Probably looking at 2 lifts of asphalt. Again, we want to take a look at the full amount of asphalt that was going to be required. Realistically, I think that on the high end, to your point, Councillor, we're probably looking at $300,000 if we've got to reconstruct road base, if we've got to do a couple lifts of asphalt, if we do a full repaving of Chrysler. On the lower end, if we get away without reconstructing the road base, it could be as low as 150 to 200,000. So because we don't know the exact value of the work until we underdo some sort of preparatory engineering and take a look at it. I think realistically, it's probably best dealt with as a separate motion outside of this award, where we provide, if council is so inclined to proceed with this work, that it's a separate motion essentially authorizing the Director of Infrastructure to move forward with sort of a review of it and negotiation and a change order to the award after the fact. Because otherwise we would be looking at adding an unknown amount to a contract that we're trying to award. So with that in mind, Jen and I have a resolution available follow this, the award of this contract if council is so inclined.
And just for my clarity, if I recall the process we undertook this year, we established a dollar amount as a council and then left the selection of the streets to some extent based on condition up to staff to identify.
We brought a set, it was sort of a two-step process. We had a meeting, an initial meeting where we brought forward what
The bigger list.
the big list, which we thought were priorities. And then there's some discussion where we looked from input from council in terms of hearing what some of the other priorities were. And we put together a large aggregate list. And I don't recall the offhand what the full value of the full list was. I think it was in the order of, it might have been the order of $3 million to $3.5 million. And at that time, council felt that they were more comfortable with an expenditure in the order of about $2 million for the 2022 road works program. So we kind of worked around the table and talked about sort of what projects we thought were priorities overall, and we came up with a program that fit that $2 million program. And once I had that, we went away and did the engineering, came up with the program, came forward with an RFD on December 14th, which laid out that program. Council approved the 2022 program at an estimated $2 million on December 14th, 2021. And we went to and we put together the final design and the final tender documents from there, went to tender and closed to what we have today. Knowing that the bid we have today of $1.5 million is actually very close to target, because it does not include some other works that still need to be completed. So that was the process that we undertook. That's how we got today. Certainly, there were a large number of roads that were under consideration, and there was a lot of information on the table. So it's easy to see how the oversight of a priority or a council priority could have been.
Well, I guess that's my follow-up question. I don't recall Crystal Lake being a council, like being a priority road. Now, maybe my memory is foggy on it, but I certainly don't remember it being in the priority list.
Well, I don't recall cutting anything out. I recall talking about $3 million worth of road work, and I don't remember us cutting it back.
Yeah, we did. We felt the 2 million was a more appropriate number, so that's my confusion.
Well, I don't necessarily want to debate that, because a company is doing the work. We're paying for it. It's not like our staff are doing it. I mean, the work has to get done, and we have the resource where we have that, we have the money put away to do the work to fix the roads. So why can't we do it this year? That's and at budget time, I don't remember us deliberating, arguing.
Councillor Devil?
Can you explain to us how Crystal Lake came about?
Was it right on the first list?
Right, but you brought it forward today. Is it that, did you have a resident complain? Did you go out to the road?
Went on for a couple of years.
Oh, okay, so it's been a road that's been an issue.
96% of our roads are asphalt or cement. That's one of the few that's still ground. So based on that and residents' complaints, I brought it up right from day one. It's not something I tried to sneak under the carpet. And like I said, I don't recall getting cut out.
Well, I think Dave's comments is on the process kind of reminded me that, yes, the first numbers were very high. It was 3 million and council was not comfortable with that. And we settled on that $2 million amount and then tried to prioritize the roads that had been identified into that $2 million of work. And I'll assume that Chris Lick was not in that $2 million worth of work. So this would be above and beyond what council already agreed upon.
It was, Chris Lick was brought to the table when we had asked for input from council in terms of what some of the priorities were. And we went away and we did preliminary costing on all the projects. And that's when we came back with the somewhere around $3 million estimate. When we had whittled it down to $2 million, this was prior to budget. This was in October or November. This was as part of the.
Yeah, because we did it beforehand.
We were trying to get the roadworks program together and get it out so we could have it closed and awarded in time, in good time. And so it was at that point when we brought the overall buy for 2022 from a 3 million estimate to a 2 million estimate that Chris led, which had been preliminary costed, had fallen out, was left out to get to that $2 million target.
Right.
If council is so inclined, it's certainly achievable to do the construction. And it's something we can do. I suggest that it be done as a separate resolution to enable the sort of the working of the contract better, but it's really.
So here's my question, and this is like from a standpoint of we've decided on the streets. Chris Lick was not the only one left out of this because of the $1 million of road work that we, ratcheted back from the 3 million. Would Chris Lick be the priority in if we were adding another $300,000 to the budget? Is that, I'm not asking you to answer this, I'm just kind of posing the question, is it's kind of coming out of left field. Oh, we forgot this one. We didn't forget it. It just didn't make the cut because we reduced the amount of budget. So would that be the one that went into the budget automatically, or would we have to review all the ones that were cut under the $1 million to determine which one would be the best one? So that's just a question I'm posing to council. Yeah, Brian?
You mentioned that this work, besides this work, that was just bids come in for $1,503,000 from the Tuminex. We have a budget of $2 million, but this work here that you see, it doesn't cover all the work that we have to do.
Correct. There's some other work that needs to be done. This bid does include 2 projects that were not originally considered by council in October and November. They were the result of the spring flooding damages. It includes reconstruction of the Burr Oak spillway and the repair of Raleigh near Eagle Creek. So those were added in to the tender package and were bid on and are included in the $1.5 million bid by Bituminix. So that work is included, and the priorities laid out by council for the $2 million program were. What isn't included in this tender package is the prep work for the Marconi culvert crossing we talked about, needs to be done separately. The prep work for the paving of Gateway and the realignment of Gateway that hasn't been done, as well as some of the prep work for Tartan, which needs to be reconstructing the crossing at Bottomley Creek and then the reconstruction of Tartan. Those are separate because they are all sort of special type projects that are separate from the road and sidewalks contract, but were included in the total program for 2022. So that's why we have an estimate of about $2 million. We've got a bid of about 1.5. So, and that's why I'm saying, right now we're pretty close to being on our estimate at this point, not having got those contract numbers back yet.
That was my next question. Is 500,000 enough to do?
Well, we aren't.
The rest of the work that we're talking.
Yeah, understand that these other jobs will not be constructed this year. The Marconi Crossing will be, or we hope to. But the prep, what we're talking about is prep work on Tartan and Gateway with an expectation of construction in 2023 of Tartan and of Gateway or 2024 at the latest. But we want to get started on the prep work on those. And so that's what the overall budget is.
Now, back when we discussed all this, we trimmed $3 million down to $2 million, and we just by selecting priorities of the various sites, did the $2 million plan include what we're talking about now, the Chrisland work?
The original list of projects that came in around $3 million did include Chrislick. The pared down projects to hit the $2 million mark did not include Chrislick.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just, sorry, my intro, did you say there was 2 roadways that were due to the flooding that we would have to be repairing them?
Two projects. One is Raleigh,
Right.
where it's been washed out at the Gateway ditch crossing near Eagle Creek.
Correct.
And the second is a spillway. It's the Burr Oak spillway upon 6 of the Eagle Creek chain of lakes.
Okay,
There's the spillway itself is washed out and
those are direct results of the flooding that we incurred this spring.
yes,
So those 2 projects would, they would fall underneath the disaster financial assistance program. While we might not receive 100% of the costs associated to it, I would anticipate we would receive upwards of 90 to 95. That's a estimated guess. I could be wrong, of course, but because it had to do with that flooding, those costs would be recouped, should be recoupable by the municipality, just as an FYI note.
I think based on my comments earlier, what I meant was if we're going to exceed the $2 million budget that we identified to add in another street, we should look at all the streets that were cut because of that million and make sure which one is the priority. That's all I meant from that, as opposed to, I don't know if Chrislick was the next one on the list or if there's others that are more important because of their condition, but that was my general comment, not just picking one without it being evaluated. Carla?
So I'm glad you said that, Jen, because that was going to be my question. And then I just want to know, do you know the portion of the 1.5 that is allocated to those projects?
not precisely with me. I could find that out easily enough and quickly enough. After the meeting, if you're going to ask me to estimate, I would say probably in the order of $50,000. But plus or minus. So a material sum, but in the sort of the scope of 1.5 million, a relatively small amount.
And Bituminix will be able to accomplish the street within the timeline that is allocated of October 14th, I believe. They added in Chrislick.
Our expectation is yes. We have not had these conversations with Bituminix yet, but our expectation would be yes.
Yep, Counselor.
I just think because these guys are going to be here part of the summer to do some more asphalt work on a piece of road that's a half a mile long. It's a big deal for them. And that word priority, I mean, it's a gravel road. People walk. Unfortunately, my residents, some of them don't live close enough to Marconi Trail, so they walk down, you know.
Chrislick to Rebec.
To Rebec, to Chrislick, to McGregor, and to the other one, I'm trying to think. So they do a complete circle.
Andrews.
No, Landers is part of it, but the other one, where Gary Rebec is doing the development,
Prairie Ridge.
Prairie Ridge. So Rebec, Prairie Ridge, Andrews, and Chrislick. That's
Well, I guess maybe a go forward solution, as Dave said, vote on this resolution as it is. We could always ask for a separate resolution if council wants to spend more money, but I think the only thing I would ask is that we get some clarification from operations on which is the roadway to do. Again, I don't know why we're talking only about Chrislick because we cut out another $1 million of work. And I think we have, if we're planning to spend more, that they should all be evaluated.
We were asked to put a list, so all of us put a list. We approved it, all of us. So now you're throwing this in saying, well, we should look at other roads. Well, that wasn't part of the ask in September.
No, I think you're missing the,
Yeah, I am, because this made the cut.
it didn't, it
It
got
didn't.
cut.
Well, it got cut on this 2 million that I don't recall.
Right.
So now to, like,
But what I'm saying is other projects, other roads that other councillors submitted got cut on the $1 million cut. So Chrislick might not be the priority of the $1 million of work that's cut.
I don't recall, I don't see Councillor Duval or Councillor Devlin sitting there that seeing any of the roads got cut. Present time. Yeah, exactly. So, and like I said, 96% of our roads are paved. This one is not. So, and it's being used every day. A lot.
I don't recall what was on the list. All these.
I don't either right now.
Quite a few of them there, but there's probably some in my ward, and I don't consider my ward above anybody else's. I'm leaving it to our administration and our infrastructure director with his staff to sort out which ones are the priority according to their conditions. And if it happens to be none in Ward 1 or Ward 3, well, good for me. I don't need anything. But there could have been some in there. But what counts is that they trimmed it down to a number that this council established. $2 million you have. Pick the ones that you feel are the highest priority. And I don't know if there's a Ward 3 one in there. Again, it doesn't matter what it is. We're looking at the whole municipality as one whole entity here. And so cuts, no, we cut the budget. So they have to cut the locations. So it's our cut, not his. Not the operations. And
I don't recall us cutting. Okay, I recall approving $3 million in the budget for road work.
Okay, let's ask, what is our resolution that we passed in October or November? Can you please confirm what we passed as a council for the road work?
I'm trying to load it and the list, original list.
The date was December 14th. John.
It's a GPC meeting from December 7th. And it says, since 2021 road and sidewalk program and budgeted at 1.6 million, administration developed and presented a set projects with an estimated construction value of 2 million for considerations. These projects were as follows. It's Southlands at Henderson, Bottomley Creek Culverts, Tartan Way Reconstruction, Hugh McDonald, Park Ridge Drive at Mowat, 3979 Marglen and 10 Christine, sidewalk repairs, curb repairs. Goes down to say council concurred with administration recommended list and requested that additional preliminary field work and costing be undertaken for the following potential projects. And I'll continue to read. Mowat Road from North Hill Drive to Hodnut Road, cold roll asphalt resurfacing. Repair of sunken roadway in front of 332 North Hill Drive, 8 Deer Ledge Trail roadway reconstruction, pooling of water, Wenzel Road south of perimeter asphalting resurfacing of 100 yards west of Springfield boundary, approximately to First Bend, Chris Luck Drive asphalt resurfacing, Tartan Way concrete reconstruction, Sulkers Avenue concrete construction, Rebec Pathway extension to St. Clements, Wozni Street, Cold Roll asphalt resurfacing, Sorrel Lane, asphalt resurfacing, Tumbleweed Place, asphalt resurfacing, Burdock Bay, asphalt resurfacing. And then it goes down to give an estimated cost for each. And then the resolution would be after that, December 14th.
Were you able to load that, Jen?
I have the resolution reads. Be resolved that council accepts the 2022 road and sidewalk program as presented by the Director of Infrastructure at a cost of $2 million. And be it further resolved that council authorize the Director of Infrastructure to proceed with the next steps of the tendering process.
I know there's that list that Carla read out. There's a lot of them that didn't make the cut.
I have the RFP here that lays out the list, and the list is the same as it went forward in the tender.
Yeah.
All right, we have the resolution in front of us on the floor. It's being moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Call for the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Council desirous of having administration bring back any extra roadworks
Absolutely.
for another meeting?
Yes, I support. So Chris Luck here had a preliminary cost of 341,000, which is would be
14.
14.
here's this 41.
Oh, you might be right. My memory might be mistaken. You're correct. You're correct. I'm sorry.
At the high side.
Yes, very high side.
I don't know how many of those ones that were cut and what their cost value was, but if you could bring back the report that says, here's the ones that were evaluated, here was their cost, and bring it back, then count at a next GPC council can look at it and make some decisions if they want to extend more road work this year, because this is within budget right now.
I think this Chris Lick should be dealt with tonight, because he's awarding that and he can tell those people to look at that versus waiting another couple of weeks and then bringing another RFP out for other roadworks, and which may not get done this summer. Just delaying things. I would like to see a motion tonight on Chris Lick, period.
Will of council? Yeah, Councilor Duval.
Well, if we're all going to dabble in adding things to the budget, I would ask a comment from Dave about Wenzel redoing, which is a border road with Springfield. We're going to share half the cost, and that's for the first, I don't know, 100 yards north of off of Springfield, which is deteriorated very badly. There's chunks of asphalt right in the middle of the road that are broken up. And it's all from the heavy truck traffic, of course. I don't know what that cost is going to be. It'll be half for us, but nonetheless.
So again, we have Wenzel Road was presented as a road of interest by council during the council briefing that we had on these roads. And it did not make the cut to from the approximate 3.5 million to the $2 million budget. The very preliminary estimate to complete Wenzel from Springfield Road to 250 meters north was 134,400. And so, that might be the order of cost that we'd be looking at. Again, though, similar to Chrislet, we would need to undertake some preliminary review and some engineering prior to doing that. We'd also have to establish terms with the RM of Springfield before doing that as well. But the early, similar to the early number, very early number that we have at Chrislet of 341, a very early number we had for Wenzel, we went out and we did preliminary costing on it. We did preliminary costing on all the projects that council had suggested that we should take a look at. And the number that we have on that was 134,400.
Is that 134 total cost to be shared, or is that our share of the total cost?
I believe it's total cost. And I think that's shared with Springfield, but I didn't want to speak on that because I don't precisely recall offhand.
Okay.
I would want to verify that. I believe it was total cost.
From a standpoint of process, like we passed this roadworks budget nice and early so that we could get the RFP out and get the work done. I think reopening this and doing more evaluation, tendering it again, doing all of these processes, I think this creates confusion and some timeline issues for staff that personally, I don't think we should be doing. We established a 2 million threshold. We have it, and I personally, I think we should be stopping there. Councillor Hutchko.
Where's the roadwork money come from?
It's coming from the and the collector arterial road reserve and the
The road rebuilding reserve.
thank you.
So, like, well, I'm going back to the $3 million budget. It's coming from reserves for roads. So I'm still on this thing on why we cut it back to 2 million from 3 million. It's coming from the bank account to fix roads,
Councillor Devlin.
whether it's Renzo or Prisluck or whatever, it has to be fixed. Why are we putting it off?
Right, so Chris Luck, I don't know how old that road is. Do you know when it was developed?
For my time,
Okay. So do we know that the intent was to pave it? Or why hasn't Chris Luck been paved if it's,
beats me. Like I said, 96% of our roads are paved. Some of them are being paid for the second time.
so if it's on our list to pave in the future, whether it be this year or next year, and it was on the list. I guess we should ask staff if they have time to get it prepared for tender. And then tender it this year, because it's not a waste of money if this is a road that's going to be paved. Because it's been on the list, so we know that it has to be done. So it's not a waste of money if we move forward in the direction of getting it paved. So I'm just wondering if staff have time to take those steps to tender it this year.
Well, I think the challenge was we did this early so staff would have time. Now we're going to throw it over. Dave will probably try to do everything he can to say yes, but I think the bottom line is we established a 2 million budget, got ahead of it this year to get the work started and identified the work, and we should be staying with that and getting the work done that we've already identified. If we thought 3 million was the more appropriate number, then that conversation and that should have been, that determination would have been made at the budget at the resolution in December. We passed 2 million. Nothing has changed in the environment. Lots of things were cut out of it, and we should be staying there. That's my opinion. This is crazy making, I think, for staff to now turn around and, oh, let's add one more street on for some reason, and having to RFP again and do specs again and get behind it. I think it's just not a very good process to undertake for all the reasons we did it this way this year to get ahead of it. We're jamming staff up again.
I don't think we're jamming staff up, and council, should accept change. Like we just can't be set in our ways. And I still firmly believe that $3 million of road work should have been done this year. The money's sitting there in the bank. It should have been done. We put a lot of things off.
All right, so Councillor Horechko clearly would like to move forward. I've said no, I'd like to stay there. Can we get the will of council for the other two councillors so we can stop talking about this issue and make a decision?
I think we should move on, just as you say, Madam Mayor. We did a lot of thought into this. Our administration did a lot of thought into preparing this list, numbers, and meeting up with council's wish for a budget. We have it struck. And if the season wears on, and sometimes this happens with construction, there's a lot of jobs going on. If the season wears on and we find that somewhere there's some extra funds available in the budget, and there's contractors on site and all of the rest of that, things that can happen, then yeah, we could look at it. But right today, we have a budget and we're gonna go forward with it. We have a list of roads and as Dave answered my question, Kristen was on the $3 million list. It was not on the $2 million list. I don't know if we have to go any further than that. I've got things that I like on that list and I just mentioned one of them, but it didn't make the cut. So, and there's probably a couple more on there that we can all think of.
Well, it wouldn't be supported tonight anyway, she needs 3, so soon we'll just move on.
Moving on, the next item is the military service recognition book. For resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council authorize,
Dave?
oh, sorry,
Did we have a vote to approve the? We did have.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
No worries.
good catch though.
Happen.
Be it resolved that council authorize administration to place a quarter-page ad in the 14th annual Royal Canadian Legion Military Service Recognition Book for the cost of $455 total.
Thank you. I'll move it. Seconder. Devlin, any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Item is the Sport Manitoba funding request for the Kids Sport Program for 2022. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council approve a grant in the amount of $450 to Kids Sport Manitoba for the year 2022, as outlined in option A of the request for decision presented at the June 14th, 2022 council meeting.
Thank you. Can I get a mover? Devlin and seconded by Duval. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Mad Message Canada yearbook ad. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that council support MAD Canada by placing a business card size ad in the MAD Message yearbook in the amount of $299 plus applicable taxes.
Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Devlin and Duval. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. DFA Claims Recovery Company. Resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the Canadian Corps of Commissioners Manitoba Division, Inc. be retained to complete the 2022 disaster financial assistance claim.
That was a quick end to that resolution.
Yes.
More to come.
No.
Okay, I'll move it. Seconder. Devlin, any discussion on this one? Call for the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Some correspondence for information. Anybody have any issues they want to discuss out of the correspondence? Hearing none. We have no other business. Council reports will be submitted. So that leads us to adjournment. Can I get the motion, please?
Be it resolved that the meeting be adjourned, the time being 7:12 p.m.
Thank you. Moved by Horechko, seconded by Duval. All in favor? That's carried.